I'm looking at the end.
We are live streaming y'all, so you know.
All right. Okay, everyone, thanks for coming. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, take an agenda. Normally we ask guests, just to sort of introduce themselves.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind starting, Audrey. Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of space, sure.
Regular first one. Okay.
I'm Ari Goldstein. Why I'm here. That was
Yeah, sure. Just briefly, because we're gonna go into it a bit, but
Go around.
yeah.
okay. And I was invited here to discuss an ongoing park construction project on Wall Street.
All right, great. Rose.
Hi, I'm Rose Black. I think everyone knows me. So, thank you for having me, and I'll say more during the comment section.
I'm Lieutenant Director of Healthy Wellness for the City of Kingston. I issue her programs.
I'm Brandon Stennis, EM. I live here in Kingston.
Hello, I'm Ella Contra. You all know me. And she, they pronouns.
Hi, I'm Paul Stankus, he, him pronouns. I'm the chair of Police Streets. Been on the council for a couple of years. I live in the Rhonda. Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Ezra. Thank everyone else. Also, hi, hello again. He and they are both okay, and I've been on the council for about a little under a year now. And I live over by the YMCA.
Okay, you can be as a test.
Doc access.
Yeah.
Oh,
Slash minutes.
my apologies.
Left over, so whatever. Left is others. Alright, so the first item is transportation grants update, which I think Emily, was that what you wanted to get into before you have to leave? I know there was something you had asked, and then
No, and in fact, so I do not have a transportation update.
okay, no updates. I see that.
But if it's a good time, my topic will keep it to 10 minutes. It's real fast, but I'd love to do it sooner.
Sure.
Okay. It looks like it's shared with you. Do you need the link to it? What can I get you? Or do you?
Sure.
I'm fine. This one, and then, but maybe we'll do, you know what, I'm gonna do it just because I'm gonna share a presentation, and then I'm gonna do this. And you can do it when I'm done. Yeah. Sorry for the last minute addition to the agenda, y'all. This has sort of come up kind of quickly, and I want to make sure to get it in front of the town council, in front of the Streets Advisory Council, because the mayor has basically asked for a list of potential projects by September.
Great.
So I'm calling this Participatory Transportation Safety Program. I know that's a horrible name. You guys can help me workshop it. I'm basically picking up what we in this group have called practical urbanism in the past. And you'll see I have a spreadsheet, things that are very similar to what you all worked on before. So basically taking some of the work that's happened here, I'm bringing it up again in a slightly different way, which I'll explain in a moment. So this is where it's coming from. Okay, so this is what I'm calling it. The goal is that, as we've talked about, there's that $50,000 in the budget for 2025 to do some, we've called it traffic calming projects, we've called it quick build projects, a number of different ways to described it. But so my goal is to come up with a set of potential projects and then invite the community to, after we refined it to ones that will work, ask the community to help us do that final selection process. So my goal of this project is really a community engagement aspect. Okay, I know I'm going through it fast, so my apologies for that. Here's a little bit of a description of the project and the phases that will happen. Oh, and I think I see the changes. So right now would be in the project proposal phase. So I'm bringing this to the Complete Streets Advisory Council. And the idea is that we would create a list of potential street improvement projects. Those are the things we've talked about many times in the past. This could be small sidewalk enhancements. Maybe it's suggestions of street lighting, bike lanes is a big topic, but maybe it's a temporary bike lane. Maybe it's some crosswalk painting. So within those list of potential things that we've talked about, I think a long time here.
Love
So
that,
what's that?
love that.
Yeah. So right now we're in that potential phase where we're just trying to collect potential projects. The next phase would be a review phase. So after I make this spreadsheet to roll them all, I'm gonna bring it to city staff and we will refine the list down to the ones that we think are feasible. So I'm giving engineering DPW a little bit of a veto here. They have to be able to sign off on it for us to move forward. Phil and I will work on that, moving it through all the different departments. We've got the suggestion to try to group it into neighborhoods and maybe do at least one or more projects in each neighborhood in 2025. That feels a little bit more equal. I don't know if it's equitable, but I would say it's equal. So one in each neighborhood so that the waterfront district can't say, hey, Uptown always gets everything. So that's a bit of a way that we're organizing it. The next one would be an outreach phase, so that refined list. As I mentioned, per neighborhood, we would somehow publish that probably on Gage Kingston with some estimated costs. And we would try to get the word out into the community that they can vote. That community voting phase, we would try to set it up online on Gage Kingston. Mail feels ambitious to me. I don't know if we actually have to mail it out, but maybe there'd be printed copies. And maybe I've done a Dropbox at the library in the past before. Maybe we can do that kind of a thing. Maybe we can do it at other locations around the city. And then there would be a bit of a refining process once we received all that voting. So then we would tally what we heard, and then we would create a prioritization for implementation. What's missing from this project phases is then the next phase, which would be construction. So that probably wouldn't be in my department. That probably would be engineering or DPW. And I can't plan that out too far ahead. Right now, I'm going to be trying to manage this program, which is just like the planning phase of it.
Nope.
Okay. So why is this coming up today? My ask of you all is that I created a form that I'll show you in just a minute. I'm officially asking the Complete Streets Advisory Council to submit project ideas. And would like to, for each project idea, I want to know the location, what the issue is, the potential treatment, and then other notes and thoughts. And I can show you the form.
Hi, excuse me, pardon me. You guys are more than welcome to partake. There's Starbucks and stuff. I just got a complaint. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Excuse me.
So here is the link. But here's when you follow that link. Here is the form that I created quickly this morning. And it's basically asking for those same things. So where is the project? What is the issue that's trying to be resolved? What's the potential treatment? You have a name for it. You don't have to have a name, but just this thing we can reference how we can reference it. And then any other thoughts or context, like one of the things that we had previously was a pop-up thing for parking day, which is a little bit different than some of the other ones. So we would love to have this for parking day on September 15th. So any extra information. Then if you want me to know who's submitting it and you want me to incorporate you in that project, add some contact information. Otherwise, unless you tell me a person, I won't know who it is from this group that submitted it.
Is this intended just for us, like in this case, like this little corner, or can, for instance, our guests have access to this form? Can we send it out to friends, family, or?
That's up to you as the Complete Streets Council. So I'm here sort of as a city staff person asking Complete Streets to pull together some projects.
Yeah.
How you guys want to ask the community or pull together those projects, sort of like that's up to you. You guys can organize yourselves.
Okay.
By the way, I picked up the projects that we had previously considered from, I don't know if Brendan, you put that spreadsheet together. I want to give you credit for that. I basically made my own spreadsheet picking up those. Some of them I've incorporated some of the feedback that we already received from John Schulteis. So for example, we had said the Greenkill bike curb, the bike lane ends abruptly on Greenkill. And he said advanced signage could be installed. So I put that because I think that it's more likely to make its way through the system if we move into this you thought potential treatment could be sure. But that doesn't mean you can add in other projects and they can be, reviewed.
I've got a vision.
Okay, so. I know I went through that super fast.
No, that's,
Questions about that or suggestions? If there's something that I'm missing that you think is very important in the way that we organize this project, values that we need to bring into it. By the way, this is a bit of a pilot program. I'm gonna fumble my way through it, especially since we're sort of going through it fast also.
So you take the data from those forms and put it on this, in this spreadsheet?
Yeah,
Okay, and so how many do you have right now?
looks like 10.
10.
So that's from the spreadsheet we made up.
And I added a few, so let's see, I added in, I think all the way the one to benches at bus stops, I think that was in yours. And then, Bill and I have already done some work and he was going through the bike ped master plan and the first one that he had identified, so I was sort of experimenting, looking at one document, filling it into this one. He had talked about, in the bike ped master plan, it identifies there's a sidewalk gap on Washington Ave. Behind Stewart's, from Boulevard to Green Hill. So Washington Ave pretty much has not great sidewalks, but has this pretty much sidewalks and Boulevard has sidewalks. So there's one missing block right there. So that could be a quote unquote low cost project.
To one side.
all right.
I think it's really a great idea. And I was just thinking the guy who was here at the last meeting, he was talking about kind of something similar that they do. Wasn't he, or am I wrong? But he was talking about something where there's like kind of a committee that reviews project ideas like that. Maybe I'm wrong.
The guy who visited us from the other city.
Yeah. Okay, I can't specific. Anyway, yeah. So, sorry, I might have missed, how would the decision be made to pick the final ones? I might have missed them.
Well, so there sort of feels like there's two refinement processes.
Yeah.
The first one is sort of getting through city staff. So the city staff, we refine it down to a certain number per neighborhood that we think is feasible. That's the first hoop to jump through. The second, I would say refinement process would be then we would put out a select number of options to the community to sort of make the final decision. So if we had 5 projects per neighborhood, that's sort of what my vision is like. What should we do in Uptown? Should we fix this set of sidewalks? Should we try a temporary bike lane? Should we
Temporary bike lane on Fair Street.
should we paint a crosswalk, sort of like a couple of options for
Yeah.
each neighborhood, and then the community be like, we really want the sidewalk. And then I would not leave this over to another department to implement.
And this
Okay,
is-
so it's a vote, so each person gets a vote.
We haven't worked out all
Okay,
those
okay.
details, we have suggestions of how I should organize that part, I'm totally open to it.
Yeah, I think it would also be cool, to have, well, I think there's a category of like a sidewalk, which would be, I mean, it's a kind of a smaller thing to do like a sidewalk, for just a block, but like really, like we could have really small things, maybe like we could have pick a big thing and a little thing or something, something like that.
Totally, and the total amount is 50,000, which is
Yeah.
not a lot for a transportation project, but it is a lot for maybe some temporary or little things, so. That's the bucket of money that I'm looking to allocate. My hope would be that this, I'm calling it a pilot project, would be successful, and then we could ask again for more funds for 2026, for example, for 2027. So
Yeah.
we're sort of testing out this participatory project selection process, and then hopefully we could use that in future years.
So are you basically saying like we're like using up all the money on these bigger things like a sidewalk when there's lots of little things that could be done?
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
I just like the idea of exposing people to the idea and also showing people that we can test things out and we can, iterate on things and just kind of like just work on that angle of it, I think, because I That's one of the things I really like about the tactical urbanism is that it's not permanent, you know? So you can learn and learn as you go.
Yeah, and another thing about it is that things can be moved around almost, like if you wanna do a traffic calming thing, you have something there. And you do it for a while and then you maybe move it somewhere else, you know, so it's like, then if like the people are voting on, do they have to vote on just like the one place, and what if we wanna move it somewhere else, so, you know, like, I'm just wondering, like, are we like kind of pigeonholing ourselves too much?
One of the projects could be a temporary project kit. So
Hmm.
if you, especially, so the more help you guys can give me of thinking through the project, the better it can be. But if someone wanted to think through all the supplies that we would need for like a temporary kit and the cost for a trailer to store it, it could be a really cool project.
Yeah. Yeah, like thinking about what Ari's doing with his park, but you know, like all the money that's going into that. Like, what if it was like a mobile park, but you know, like you did it in one place for a while and you moved it somewhere else, like that sort of thing. Yeah, no, it's just some.
If
Trying to be
I
like
could
this.
I'll just add, like on the traffic safety board, I just proposed something very similar to what you said, like a kid. And it did not go very far yet. It got a lot of attention. I really liked it. But I think that's a fantastic idea. I think the idea of having,
Mhm.
because you can also, you can get things like a lot of cones, right? And you can buy it in bulk and store and DPW, yeah, and if you've got any, someone, you know, you get. So a lot of heat. Yeah.
Mm.
Where does the cost come from? Interest, like where, $50,000? Where does the cost go? Like, in other words, you purchase cones.
Yeah.
But let's say you wanted to make a bike lane on Fair Street, which is a great idea. You purchase cones, you put the cones down. You have, let's say it takes 80 cones to light the Fair Street. So is the cost of the project 80 cones worth? And how much is that?
Well, so there's a few different unknowns there. One, so actually, if I could use Broadway as an
Yeah.
example for the temporary bike lane, because I've thought through that one a little bit more, because I was
Okay.
looking on my list. So that would be a temporary bike lane pilot. So we would rent out the parking spaces. We would basically pay the city for the cost of those parking spaces for X amount of time. I would say at least a week.
Okay.
There's actually marking tape, but there's lots of different ways that you can delineate a temporary
Are
thing.
we talking at the high school?
Yeah, they're not right out here.
Oh,
If we did that project, I would highly encourage us to have some kind of data collection. Account before maybe of cyclists or pedestrians, account after to show greater use. We also would, I don't know if we could get the approvals to do that, so there's a big caveat. I don't know if the city engineer would think that it was safe enough for us to allow it to happen. So there's a big
Okay.
asterisk to that. But we can absolutely envision it and ask for it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the cost would be, aside from the cones, it would be the rent, the parking rent, and the salary of the employees who are doing the
Maybe.
data collection.
I do not know the answer to that yet. It could
It's also
be,
volunteers, I mean, like, I'm thinking else out there.
yeah. There's a lot of unknowns that we don't, because we would, almost every single one of these projects would be a new thing for the city of Kingston.
Yeah.
We'd have to fumble our way through it a little bit.
Right.
Right, we might get DPW it by paying for overtime.
Yeah,
That's a possibility that some of the funds might be used that way.
DPW like that.
Yeah, well, I know, the lack of overtime, I understand the problem is staffing, it's getting to fill the
I
positions.
think they feel like they have enough overtime.
Yeah.
What if the library bought a set of cones?
Yeah.
You could take it out from the library.
Yeah.
You write a grant, it's like, here's 20 cones, just with it.
We can't use these funds to write a grant to the library.
Got it.
It is, and I'm talking about paying for overtime, but now that it's agreed to it, there is some qualifications on how this money can be used, and it might only be capital projects, it might only be for materials.
Okay.
But this is the meeting where we can talk about those kinds of projects and then think them through and then present them and find other ways to do.
Okay.
I have to go in 5 minutes. Is there any other questions that I can offer or any other support about anything else on the agenda before I go?
Well, the next thing was the yard sign. I see there are a couple left, or
There's
we.
2 left.
Two left. We can just, if anyone wants them, just take them.
I don't want to go back.
Yeah, okay, great.
My son, my 4.5-year-old keeps ripping it out.
No, but.
He's ripping it out, like, I was like, Reese, come on, man, the car break.
You think it's so much fun because of the little Libby.
Yeah, well, that's important. We can give you two, so if you have a backup in case.
I would like to suggest that, like, I think opening the suggestion form to the public and having that be more broadly.
Yeah, I think it was give us things that maybe we wouldn't even think about, but also like a very sort of short window, so it's not like just open forever again.
So, to clarify, that I do not think the city will send out a press release about this phase. I do think when we get to the point where we present to the community with limited selection options, that that the director of communications will send out a press release and it'll go out to the papers, for example.
Sure.
So
Oh, the voting, that's the voting.
the voting section, but for this section, I think it's up to the completion advisory council to send out an email to people who we think might be interested.
Sure.
I do not think the city will send out. a press release.
That's fine. We can sort of do
Yeah.
a targeted almost email to people who we
Yeah.
know who are interested and care.
Well, there's also, there's the bike head master plan, you did a survey for that, and you already have a lot of recommendations in that, and just like, I think it goes through hot spots that people are concerned about, so that could also be a good place to pull data from as well, to kind of think about what a lot of people think are hot spots.
And when I review what you all submit, I hope to go through so Phil has created a list of sort of bullet points of recommendations from the bike master plan that are sort of like potential projects. I hope to add those in, but if you guys submit projects and they're sort of the same thing, I may combine them. So I'll probably, so that there's sort of one for each review project. Yeah.
Cool, that's great.
Thanks, guys. Sorry again for the last minute addition to the agenda, but you'll see on the agenda that my due date, I believe, is July 4th.
July 4th.
So please submit any potential projects July 4th. There's likely that I'll come back again to future meetings and we'll discuss further, but that's gonna be my deadline for this space.
That's 3 weeks away.
Cool.
Alright.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Brendan, I'm leaving this for you for the computer. We'll connect on Saturday for the computer. Awesome. All right, everybody.
Thanks. Alright. Alright, I think we'll jump to Ari next. Alright,
That's good because I joked with it.
yeah, no, I know.
Big sign destroyer,
Yeah.
ironically.
Alright, cool. Okay, alright, thanks for coming.
Hey man, nice having you.
Yeah, I think everyone here.
Everyone's verification, I'm very biased about it.
Yeah, no.
But I can tell you, the 8 years I lived there, one car flipped over. And another car, there was an accident that was a block from GW Elementary School. Fair Street is like wide enough to be a bi-directional street. And my block in Franklin and St. James is like essentially a drag. But you know, all drive the
Yeah.
sign off. It's like a drag strip. So the best, I think the most cost-effective way of calming that propensity to drive at insane velocities is to narrow the street. And then that you have that cuneiform teardrop shaped little sliver of park at like right at the 5 Ways to Die, which is just begging to be expanded and made like a place where there's like benches and things to do. It's just like this forlorn strip of like.
We have so many things there now too. You have the dispensary, the bakery, this new distillery. I mean, it's becoming like a whole
It's
thing,
becoming a whole
but it's
thing.
still the most dangerous place in town.
I know.
They have a very activated,
Yeah.
really do something.
Yeah, and it's just like a huge waste of space, like all the concrete, like it seems like I could be a lot more damage.
Well, that's exciting to think about.
Do you guys know like about like the Dutch style protected intersections? Rose, you know what I'm talking about? Well,
Yes.
you know, where it's like the internal.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good place or something like
Do you know-
that, because it can, if you can bring.
Do you have the weird Dutch name?
I know.
Winor or the equivalent?
It's like.
Rosendale, actually.
Like,
There's a Rosendale, which I did.
Intersection?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Rosenda,
Oh.
Rosendale. It's a Dutch name.
I mean, I think, you know,
It's sort of like, it's not around even going around, but it's, yeah, so
It's like similar to that.
yeah, there's.
Because you know, you have the bike lane there, and then right after that is the Empire State Trail, but it's like, you can't really like get there in a comfortable
No,
manner.
it's
Like, that's
right.
the way we
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, you know, it's like, you get, it's still that weird
Yeah.
jog, and then they don't realize that you're there with the bike, right?
Yeah, so it
It's
has
not really.
has protection on the corners, when you're
Yeah.
turning, you don't get right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a spot that is definitely big,
so that's,
and something right in the middle of it.
Well, that's cool. So it's like a bike
Yeah.
circle.
Right in the
Yeah.
middle of it.
So the traffic circle for bikes,
Yes,
super
yeah.
close to the intersection.
I have
So
seen
they
it,
have,
yeah, I didn't.
get the corners so that there's a lot more distance. between
Oh,
turning.
yes, that can protect the
Yeah,
bikes.
yeah, exactly.
That is a great idea. Yeah, that is something that if you reach out to like Empire State.
Yeah.
you could do something
You might
with,
support that.
with the tax alerted and stuff, you just put like planters
Yeah,
where the.
it's not- it's not-
Something. to
And
just
you'd also be-
have the idea of
Yeah.
protection.
You're bringing in every minute, and also so, you know, that whole like stare off that's going on over there, like it's
Yeah.
kind of comes in
Yeah,
a little
coming
bit
together.
closer
Yeah.
and it's better. Right, you know, because it's always the most aggressive person.
Yeah,
Really.
absolutely. Actually, you guys, I think at the corner of Pearl and Clinton, I think that shape, that kind of internal,
Yeah, yeah.
they put one in right there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like right.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah, that little kind of bump that
Oh,
sticks out.
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I saw the craziest, this is a bit of a non sequitur, maybe we can get back on track after this, but that's the chair. I was going to Clinton, I was going down towards the plaza and a giant 18-wheeler made that turn and basically drove over the sidewalk, over the new plantings they've done. I thought it was gonna take out a straight line. And I was watching it being like, oh my God, thank God there isn't a person anywhere.
They're going down to Clinton.
Yeah,
And turning on to Albany.
they're going from Albany onto Clinton. And it was
So
just
that's
too
like a
tight.
way.
Well, I don't know, they didn't take it wide enough.
They take a left or a right.
Right, on from Albany.
Okay,
Yeah.
going towards Hanford.
Yes, it was terrifying, the way they were just riding over it. I watched it basically like mouth wide open.
Yeah, and it's like they should just be directed to go south of Washington.
Right.
I don't know, like it just seems
Right,
like.
they should come the
can't
back
really
way.
turn like that.
Either it's another idea that, I mean, and they would probably just shoot it right down because they hate anything. But putting something in the Broadway bike lanes where those turns are, that's.
Oh, yes, I've been saying
Yeah.
that for so long.
You know, like, make it sharper,
Thing.
you know, make it so you
Yeah.
have to really slow down.
Yeah, my husband literally will not take the Broadway bike lane because of that. If he has to go somewhere, he'll always take the rail trail and then go out of his way to go down the side streets because the bike lane is just, it's not.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tricky, I mean, you know, and it could be fixed, right? Like, I don't think that it's a lost cause. I mean, I think that you could really do a lot, but.
Help with the bus
simple
stops
things
too,
like
because
that,
the
like,
bus
you
stops there that people use
Yeah.
to park the spots.
Cause I was just, the other day, I saw the car turns in and they're in the bike lane and also in our pedestrians like these days. And I hate to say it, but DPW here in Kingston actually did kind of raise the alarm about that when they were putting them in, that was gonna be an issue.
Mm.
And it is. I mean, that police officer who was hit by Elmendorf, that's exactly what I standing
Hmm.
like right there at the edge of the bike lane and someone made an illegal right hand turn, you know. So it used to. It's not big, didn't get injured, but it knocked him right off the head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, oh yeah. So. And Abby from the library was giving me
Mhm.
That's
I know that.
exactly what faculty were saying. And one more thing, just when you, like, I love Ari's project because it incorporates that space that's already been drawn out.
Right.
And in Hoboken, what they do is they look, those spaces are placemakers. We want to do something here in the future. We want to make this more permanent.
Like,
That's a good
I didn't even think about them.
Yeah.
Basically, like the city now has all these places along Broadway where you're not supposed to park. Like,
Right,
let's do.
yeah,
So let's talk about your park plan.
yeah, great.
How did you come up with this idea? What sort of spurred it? Have you been thinking about it for a while?
Yeah, a lot of, accepting the fact that, can't, really change human behavior with, design is the best way to change human behaviure, right?
And it's forcing them to do it?
Yeah, it's just say this is how, and we have we have retrofitted Kingston, but many cities, the entire country has been retrofitted for on behalf of safety of drivers at the expense of everyone else. And so finding out ways to creatively make roads, streets, not roads.
Well,
It's fine, hopefully streets and less roads. Make streets and not roads, not roads, whatever. Is by making it, having to be more active than as passive as motorists, having to like be aware of what's around you and so something in the street, like I have a priest who's 4.5 years old and he's learning to ride a bike on Bear Street, which, as you're well aware, sidewalks are jagged, difficult to learn how to ride a bike on, to say the least. So we're oftentimes in the street riding a bike. Great Kingston, I learned to ride a bike on the blacktop because it's safer than being on the sidewalk. And to see people's interactions is always like interesting that people will slow down. Obviously, hopefully no one wants to hit a 4.5-year-old or their father. At least not the 4.5-year-old father. But that was kind of the impetus, was really primarily a way to slow down traffic around George Washington.
So you've gotten some city funding, right?
I got no city funding.
Oh, for some reason I thought on your
Yeah.
Instagram, there's
Yeah, about that.
I thought I saw something about city funding.
So I've applied for a Kingston Common Futures grant. So we have a I can email you guys the plan. We have a more full-on design that is more expensive to construct. And I heard of this grant, I rapidly applied for it and then found out it wasn't going to be available if I got the grant like November. And I really wanted this now. So I was like, so I reached out to Amanda and Anthony Rough Draft and said, who built the parklet? It's like Alejandro Valle built the parklet. I don't know if you guys know Alejandro. Mm-hmm. I should have brought him here. I was just with him. We were like measuring, looking at. He's a contractor, but he likes working with. In this case, he likes working with found materials. So we used pallets from Herzog's. We constructed for those of you who haven't physically been there. It's a barrier, and on one side there are container beds, so beds that we put utility boxes in, drilled for drainage and what have you. Use this thing called Google culture. Probably a Dutch word, but I don't know how to pronounce Dutch. But it takes them back, right? Take them back. They do, But that's this a way of kind of compost stratified gardening, and the other side would do built-in seating, as well as procuring. Put down some indoor-outdoor kind of astroturf, and this kind of material underneath it that kind of cushions it a little bit. So it's sort of like a it's grassy-ish. Feels comfortable on your feet. And then we got some furniture to put on that, like, sourced from Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. And then we're just collecting, and I luckily have this just found this cadre of gardeners. Like there's Cindy Murrow, who heads off she does a lot of things. She's a retired educator, but she's a community gardener. And so the GW community gardens, she runs that. And so I kind of drag it over to this project. Then I've just found I literally found someone to work on this because I walk by their house every day and I was like, well, I bring plants in containers. So I saw them and I was like, hey, come, we're building this container garden. And Westall, whatever his name, we're like, yeah, sure. And so,
So did you get any sort of permission from the city?
I did.
Okay.
I did. So I
Yeah,
said,
how did that work?
I spoke to, I said, I have I can forward you guys the whole email chain actually. But I think it started with like, we had this idea for a parklet. This is hashed out blacktop that technically isn't parking and it's not to be driven on and people are driving fast in the neighborhood. So we want to do this. And Steve Noble gave me the okay, and then I spoke to DPW and I filled out like a very perfunctory, very basic form. It's like, hi, I'm a person. This is what we're gonna do. That was it, essentially. If you drive around, particularly this area, there's a lot of hashed out asphalt that would be great. But the nice thing about this park that we've constructed is that it's got a naturally occurring shade. It's under a tree, which it's improving. Hopefully, the city gets to that sooner rather than later. But it's nice because it provides in the hottest part of the day, this area is shaded. So it's a reason to be in a shaded area, for people. It's right by GW, so hopefully my intention is that parents will use it, kind of hang out there and talk to each other after, so it's kind of a community building thing. I'm not sure that you have the same built-in amenities necessarily around here, but there's certainly a lot of people that live around here and,
Yeah.
I know this well because I live there and I see it and I kind of, I'm very Jane Jacobsy about it. It's like watching people come and go, what have you.
Yeah. Has anyone reached out to you to be like, how do I do this? And I'm just doing it in my street, in my neighborhood.
Yeah, so people, I've gotten a few inquiries about that,
Okay.
Have you considered writing a zine?
Have I considered writing a zine? No, but what is that
Like you print it out on some printer paper.
Staple it together,
like those community free libraries, or however you handle distribution.
How to make your own park.
This is like Charles, Charles
explainer.
Yeah, Charles Mingus had a similar thing about how to toiletry your cat. Charles Mingus.
I tried doing that one time, not Charles Mingus's way necessarily. It didn't work very well.
Oh man, he had a mail you could literally write and send away for, and there was a whole NPR thing about it. It was great. And then I actually was at someone's house, who was an audiophile and had it. He had the thing, and I was like, "That I know what that is, and that's great."
That's really exciting. It seems like a success story. No one's driven into it yet.
Yeah.
What rough drafts?
Yeah. Well, the one thing it has going for it is it's not in close proximity to Snapper McGee's. I don't know if that person's I don't know what their mental state was. I don't know if they were in need of drunk driving or if there was just an active all out anti-woke vitriol that made him do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a mystery. I haven't heard any updates on that.
But if it gets destroyed, I'm fairly confident that it will be rebuilt because I think people are already liking it.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the beautiful thing about them. Is all right, fine, it's kind of like the ghost bike. You can take it away and it's an old bike.
Right, yeah.
We'll put another one there.
Yeah,
You don't get overly attached to your gorilla art.
Exactly. Oh, you took our pallets away.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which brings me to the point, I love the idea of actually keeping it at, like, so the proposal I did for the Ulster County Traffic Safety Board was, it would be kind of a competition, and no one could really go over like $1,000, because the idea is you really don't want this to be like, yeah, this is a community-based project where people are going to be encouraged to, recycle things, and you want it to be accessible for everybody. So there's different projects, obviously, but I think like keeping if you want to duplicate it, kind of keeping that, or
Yeah.
finding matches.
Right.
Encourage people to find matches.
Right, and so I applied for this grant, which I'm now starting to see, don't tell the Novo people I said this, but I think it may end up being relatively redundant, because I kind of like the fact that we kept it low budget and have built this thing, and it's kind of evolving normally, like the high budget form of it suddenly looks less. So I think what I might take, if I get the grant, I'll probably end up buying a generator. And so I can power musical performances, vendors to come and set up. We don't have electrical supply there.
Wow.
Yes.
And where is this election?
It's on wall just below Franklin Street.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Come visit.
Yeah.
Come visit, come sit down here, comfy chairs. It's like really great.
I have to ask you, did you mean to create, because I went over there, because there is an absolutely gorgeous planter, by the way, that everyone should go over and check out, that was once in my backyard.
It's true.
But when I was over there, I realized that, there's that little kind of like culvert there. So if you're kind of, because I didn't realize it, because I was standing there taking a picture and a car started coming, I was like, oh crap. But I stepped in and there's like this little gap. There's two, like, and I was like, did they mean that? But that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just step in and then the car goes past you, really, like, it's pretty decent space to do that.
In between the planters, you're saying?
Yeah, no, it's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's been iterative. So, we initially, I thought we'd have one continuous bed, planter bed. But then what happened was when we built it, we felt like that we had to reinforce the structure. So there's kind of this diagonal, almost like drum, soldier drum kind of pattern of like reinforcement rods that are in it. And so then we just took we figured out like where the height of where it met the thing, and just copied that and made 3 of them rather than the whole thing, because I don't know, it's just we sort of just figured it out as we go, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, as a gastroenterologist, I can't be too creative in what I do, right? I mean, I can't be, nobody wants like a too creative of a doctor, right? Like nobody, it's like, oh, I really still got gold. I still got gold. He's great. He's super creative. Like, oh, geez, I don't know.
I'm curious, how particular do you think is this spot? How sort of replicable is this throughout do you think Kingston is just like filled with opportunities?
I think it's filled with a lot of opportunities. I think that for this kind of construction, and I think the whole thing with I call this actually tactical herbalism because of the plants, right?
Yeah.
Just like, but and you can use these container plants to grow because they're container plants. So you're kind of getting in the way. You're sort of bypassing a lot of the issues about soil quality and and potential downsides of urban farming. So you could definitely grow food in them. I think the biggest problem with a lot of the negative space, if you want to call it, is the lack of shade. And so, be creative with that as far as is solution pergolas? Are they those
The ones that have this sort of triangle.
those things, yeah. Like
Kinsley is.
where the kids live, or where next to, I was thinking maybe next to, what's that brewery, Westkill? They have on there, I think they had it.
Yeah, they have in their backyard. They have like their poles, like 3 poles. They have like kind of a stretchy fabric to kind of.
Maybe we could repurpose the type plan.
That's right. Oh,
Second
hand material. Yeah, right. Oh. That's great. There's a lot of secondhand. There's a lot of material. They take out of material.
I mean, it's not the best material. That's part of it.
That's probably out there, and not the best prepared either.
Yeah.
A lot of the I've been looking because it's so funny. Like you sort of get attuned to whatever it is your environment that you're like. When I became a parent, it became apparent to me how many kids there were. I never really paid attention, but now you kind of like, you're like attentive to it because you're like, oh my God, I got a kid, and I'm just researching all this stuff. Kids. But also, my child was born in December 2020. Kingston had a relative explosion around that time in population, like of a certain demographic, so that probably also factors in. But similarly, with this project, suddenly, like everywhere I go, I'm like, dumpsters, look at all that wood. That's like really, because like, you know, we're eventually gonna do a project in the back of our house, and it's gonna involve taking down and rebuilding. There's gonna be so much left over. I don't wanna see that shit in a landfill. You know, like I wanna see reuse as much of that stuff as possible, if not in my house. Almost like it'd be great if there's a repository for scrap wood. Like here's scrap wood that I have, and instead of like it going, you know.
And so you might, if you did the KCF grant, you might think about ways that you could use that to actually bootstrap these other parklets, make it possible for other people to do this in lots of other places.
Yeah,
And, you know, that kind of idea.
Exactly.
Of a repository for wood is maybe that's on the list.
yeah.
You know who else gets really great, really cheap construction materials in New Paltz? The dump over there.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
They're really good. If you're looking to do creative projects, honestly, like you go in there and you get like a palette of old tiles, right? And it's like, who else would care? But the
Yeah.
person with a certain mind is like, there's like also like blocks of cement, but
Yeah.
stuff like that, I used to bring, when I had a Girl Scout troop very briefly, and I would drop them in there, and we used to like go, be like, find stuff, and they would come back with like a box of wooden spools, right? And like, it was fun.
That's so
But
cool.
that place is
Did you get a
great.
badge for that? They get a special.
They did. They did, yeah. But, yeah, no, so I mean, I think places like that are really good, for just to gather that kind of material, but storing it too.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
like, so that became, that's like the ghost bike, is like, everyone gave me like an old bike, and it's like, like, I've only got so much
Right.
backyard, and I don't
Right.
have a garage, so I think
Right.
really don't take so many old bikes at once, right? So with that also becomes a problem, but.
Yeah,
Well, that's all great though, it's amazing, so, I'm super proud of you guys for pulling that together, like you too, but you guys.
Excuse us.
Well, I was just gonna ask, I'm assuming you have to take it down for winter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anything may, it would all have to come down
It would, yeah, for sure.
until it's.
So, Amanda and Anthony have been generous enough also to let us store the parklet, on Barbarossa Lane.
You want
And I think this is also stored there, so.
Yeah.
And also, there's so much like, going up and down Albany Avenue, especially in Temple Ulster, there's so much derelict space there. It just takes the right person to be like, hey, you've got this. I mean, actually, so Stan Z passed away recently. Stan Z place. I don't know if you guys, isn't Stan Z? Is Stan Zaborski, right? The Zaborski brother.
Oh.
It's unbelievable. Like like you see the store in the front, there's like a giant, like, yard in the back with all this scrap stuff that just goes like, I don't know what's happening with that, but just what there's that like weird, it's like a paper thing, and it's got all like the tractor trailers backed up, and it's like I've never seen go in or out of it, but there's point of it is there's if you drive down Albany Avenue, you're like, oh, I can start the store park stuff there, and someone is gonna like, you'd hope.
Yeah.
You'd hope.
Well, the thing about yours that's so, and I think it's great about it is that it's using the blocked off space, because I know that, and I've gotten into it a bit with some people in the Kingston Wire comments about the rough draft parklet, because it takes away parking spaces. But you are using space that's already been demarcated. for
Right,
parking,
exactly.
Which
It
is,
really takes nothing away.
right, take nothing away from anyone, it'll just, so
Yeah.
that's like perfect.
And then people see the value of it, and they're like, okay, well, so like, for example, one of my dictatorial exercises would be, I would, the block of John Street, between, I guess Clinton and there. No, between Wall between Wall and Fair on John Street is a short block. That's where Esther Wine Shop is moved to. And, you know, it's a short block. There are 7 parking spaces on that block. 7. And so what if that street was that one block was like a pedestrian, if you like really beautify that and make it like a park, you know, with like, yeah, like a plaza, like if you do that one thing, you would lose 7 parking spaces, but you would gain so much, right? And I think that like, you know, or another one of my this fuckers at Ulster Savings Bank, they have this like, they have their ATM, like a drive-through ATM, like right in the middle of Stockade, like it's 2025.
Yeah.
Who's the so to drive through ATM and 12 parking spaces on like right in the middle of what is like our densest overlay area. Like, are you kidding me? There should be apartments, ground floor retail, and the shit like. Sorry.
It's one of my
What's
favorite
that?
sneaky parking spaces, because I just had my bank card, like.
Yeah, there's so much. Well, there are just like vestigial things that,
Right.
yeah, like I was wondering if they had with the Rite Aid right here. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's one of these old school things where you have the pharmacy and then surrounded by, you're like, oh, maybe that's not
I
now.
found out the Rite Aid is.
Yeah, and I know,
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's, it used to be a bus.
Oh, really? Right here.
Yeah, you have a bus station.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, a bus station, like a beautiful building that looks a lot like Zaborski's. And it was taken down in the 90s
Wow.
to build the Rite Aid.
Jeez,
This is funny.
that,
It's
wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like always saying that we need a transportation actual hub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? We need a.
Right.
Well, they do, I mean,
You know,
it makes sense.
I know, but I don't know how many, if you guys were in Kingston here long enough to know when they did the Trailways reboot, the Trailways, like, so the Trailway station where it is now, they did it's renovated. And like before it happened, I think, oh my God, this is gonna be, they're really going to like, they're gonna really modernize this thing. Like, they just changed the color.
Yeah.
It's like, I think you guys are so like,
Yeah,
oh,
maybe
like,
like a little bit nicer.
yeah, right, like they updated the vending machine options, I don't know.
I've been told I'm allowed to lobby you also, and we lobby you briefly. If you don't like the way land use works presently, Senator Rachel May has proposed a pilot program for a land value tax. It's happening in five different towns and cities in New York State would be the pilot. I think Kingston is too small to be eligible for the pilot, but if that thing happens and gets momentum and then works, and we could eventually get a land value tax here, that could really help with some of these very silly land uses that we see going on. Right.
What is up with that horrible parking lot owned by the city on O'Neill Street? That's right next to the trail. That they don't maintain in the winter time, and it's a sheet of ice, literally right on
Oh.
O'Neill Street.
I don't know, street across from where Kingston was.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous.
That was a competitive.
It was on the same block as well.
It's
Yeah.
it's across from 21 Middle Street where Deer Kingston was.
Yeah.
There's a city lot in there.
It used to be, I refer to this building affectionately as Big Vape, because it had huge vapes on it for like sprayed vape. It had like 2 giant vapes. Then they covered it and the vapes were gone. It's been so it's a brownfield site. It used to be this long time, it's some kind of manufacturing, so it's a brownfield remediation site the city's acquired. But I don't know,
The city, you know, there's all these ideas about what can happen with those now.
But
That's the midtown.
But they don't, I think my biggest right now is it's just totally wasted space, but they don't maintain it in the winter time, and it is. I took a video of it last winter, it is, so there's, you know, the street is half driveways to begin with. Right? So,
right.
and no one is maintaining it. And then you like go to walk down on that side of the street, and It is a sheet
Ice, yeah.
of ice, like literally, because there must be some drainage issue over there.
Right,
It's got,
I think so, yeah.
I love trails, but like the trail is clear.
Yeah.
The sidewalk is not,
Right,
or non-existent.
right.
It's a little painful.
This is a big, this is a big thing, like, that I think we've talked about, so, tell me your name.
Brandon,
Brandon, nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
So, Paul and Ella and Rose are in this chat thing that we started called Kingston Design Matters, which is a signal for, I would encourage both of you guys as well. Get the link to it. But this is something that's come out there before is that, obviously, you know, roads are, you know, DPW and clearing the streets in wintertime, but that we leave sidewalk maintenance to people that own the sidewalks. And some of those people are elderly and some of those people are not in good health, and some of those people, so
Some of those people just aren't around.
some of those people aren't around, right? Like, which is,
Business design, you know, the street you're talking about, it's all just business, who knows?
Yeah.
Owns it.
right. So all these things, you know, like our sidewalk should have this. I mean, if we're really going to value non-motorized transport, like sidewalks be the same priority that streets do. So it's safe to walk, you know?
Syracuse, they're not doing, I don't know, Michelle Hershlick is what she said, they're not doing so good with it, but in their Vision Zero action plan, sidewalk clearance has become the city's responsibility somewhat. They have some kind of wonky formula for it, but they've taken it. Makes sense in Syracuse, they're talking about like,
The snow capital of the country.
of the country, I think, yeah, the lake effect snow, so, I mean, but, I mean, to your point, this whole idea that, you know, we should be maintaining the roads and putting the money into maintaining the roads. I mean, maybe that's, it is, you know, because half of the people in Midtown are walking in the road. So, you know, seriously, like, because they cannot, including in front of my own house, which is, I don't own, so there's nothing I can do about it. Just spending cars and basically. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, and this particular been going on for far too long.
Can we pivot to talking about UCTC?
I have to go too. I
Okay,
don't want to go.
well, I just.
Or you can come back anytime, you can join,
In
join it if you
person.
want, yeah.
What I'm gonna do, I revised the talking points, so just look for it in the signal chat. So I'll put everything in
Okay,
the
cool.
signal chat. I revised the talking points. Just really quickly. There is $15.5 million that New York State DOT has identified to redo the bottom half of Washington Avenue. So from Hurley Ave, Frank to Saucon.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought, I thought it was the whole thing.
I thought so too, but everyone keeps kind of.
They focus on that, but I think it's the
I
whole
do,
thing.
I think you're right, I keep getting corrected, but I think you're right.
I think Brian said that.
I gotta look at the scope again, I gotta, there's maps. Yeah.
Doesn't mean, wow. No, the entire structure.
Which could be, could be. However,
This is why you know Marie Miller.
yeah,
Got it.
well, I know, yeah, me and Marie, I also know Marie from her postcard, I know Marie well. But so what we realized, so first, you know, I learned about this, I learned about the traffic safety board. And I was kind of excited about it, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is kind of a game changer, till I looked at the actual project. And the actual project, unfortunately, is really, so far, the scope of the project is only the Sawhill intersection, only the Schwank intersection. And feasibility for pedestrian connectivity from Sawhill to Kingston, which
Right.
Tanya pointed out is problematic. Bless Tanya, because she caught it. She's like, because I was like, well, that feasibility thing is in there, so that's good, right? And she's like, yeah, but it's from Sawhill So that's like one of the first kind of revisions that I'm asking for people to pay attention to is that, we really need to ask for the scope to not just focus on soft health. Right?
Go all the way to the traffic circle?
It's got, well, no, it's gotta go all the way to Schwing. To Schwing.
Okay,
Because what they're saying is we're gonna compartmentalize, and we're gonna look at this intersection, and we're gonna look at this intersection.
right,
And we know that this is all part of a system, right? So
Right.
you need to, so that's the first kind of, and I did verify this with a planner. I called the planning, I go, well, it looks like there's some important things missing. And they're like, well, yeah, it seems kind of vague. And I was like, okay, I don't like vague. I'm sorry, I don't like it. So, but
DOT.
yes, this is tip, what's called tip money, which is, this is all it is. I've known about it for a while, but I've never, and I can't tell you, I still get it, but I do know that this is discretionary funding directly from the Department of Transportation. So this is funding that they have allocated themselves for Ulster County. Based on whatever it is they're basing it on, like, I'm not really sure why that.
Yeah, they talked about projects all over the county.
Yeah, and there is projects, so the tip is that collection of projects, right, so it's not just this project. It's the tip is the collection of projects all over the county, this has been added to the DOT tip,
right.
okay? So now, which could be great, by the way, it could be really good,
Well, I mean, if I could just
yeah.
point out, they're in very early stage of this. So this is the time when you can advocate for
Exactly.
changes you want to see. Like,
Exactly.
We're not, we're 2 years out from construction.
Well, but here's,
Right.
Construction.
I gotta be a little careful. Let's just say there may be a rush. That I don't
Maybe a
think,
rush.
that I don't think should be happening. To get it done. And I think that we really should consider it. I think there's a fear, and Brian expressed it, so projects left undone are projects that get more expensive. Or projects that don't look good on the sheet when they're getting audited.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of them in Ulster County, unfortunately.
interesting.
None in Kingston, by the way. Kingston's great. They're always talking about that at the traffic safety department. Kingston projects did not, Kingston projects did not. Right, so we're not in that, but there are projects all over the county that, and what happens is besides it getting, becoming more money, that money is like kind of sitting there, like basically unallocated. Which we know in this climate right now is always scary because they can
Right.
start getting some money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They seem to imply money is safe, but it's just like, you don't know.
Well, I've been asking around. And the money itself is safe. I think we're getting the money, one way or the other, and we'll probably get it. And by the time it's done, if you compare it to the Woodstock project, for example, I think that was started at 20 and they're at 36 million now. So it is not uncommon for these projects to start at one amount and they get, for a lot, sometimes for good reasons, and for Woodstock, a lot of it's good reasons. But so there's a couple of things though, and I'll put it and also I'll just send it to everybody too, so you have it. What I think we need to advocate for is for Ulster County to add the Washington Avenue crossing and
Oh,
basically a road diet
100.
into their long-range transportation.
Yeah,
Because if it goes in there, you gotta commit to it.
and also.
And it's not in there right now.
And part and parcel of that is like this kind of, like we have this incendiary feud with CMRR, right?
Yeah.
And so is CMRR gonna be there? Are they gonna be there in 2 years? Are they gonna?
Yeah. Well, it's really funny because I asked people
Are they gonna be more death threats or what? Are they?
to look at the whole spot and just the, like, and so I have an engineer friend and, and they were looking at it and they're like, what the thing's going across that street? So those are relics? So I was like, yeah, those are relics. But it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. But I think those tracks are gonna still be there. I believe that they are, and the county may give them this, they may give them kind of place to dock over there on Washington Avenue, if that's possible, which would be another reason for making Washington Avenue safer, actually.
Absolutely.
So, CMR is not leaving Kingston anytime.
You don't think so? You think
Not
they're all the way down here?
No.
Because they threatened that. They're like, we're gonna leave Ulster County. I was like, fill in the door, hit you. Sorry.
So in any case, I'm not going there. But, so what I'm saying is, we have time with DOT. We should be writing to DOT, I've already asked. to
tell me
get
who to write. Tell me who to write.
We need right now, by the 18th, we need to be writing, and I have it in I'll post it in the signal. We have to write to Brian Slack.
Oh, Brian Slack. Yeah.
Brian Slack by the 18th and say that we need these things added to this. So that this bears more weight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I want to invite Brian hopefully for the next meeting too, so we can just,
Honestly, I think Brian's not.
oh
That
yeah.
would be.
No, I know, I mean, he comes to
Yeah.
meetings sometimes, like,
Yeah.
he'll come, if there's any sort of county stuff to discuss. He was on when I joined, he was on
Okay, yeah.
big streets, so.
You know, another person who would be an advocate for this is whoever owns Dutch Village, because
Oh.
because there is an esplanade. It was really lovely. One of the nicest places in Kingston to run is a 1/4 mile stretch on the Esopus Creek that's behind Dutch Village. It's like the embankment. Yeah,
Oh, wait, yeah, I know what you're
it's so
talking about.
lovely, and then it goes down into the backside of Kingston Plaza, which is less nice. But it doesn't mean that the backside of Kingston Plaza can't be improved. But you have you have the Midtown Linear Park, which has the Kingston Plaza, and then you gotta go around. By the way, there's great graffiti in that area, believe me. You gotta pay very close attention to the graffiti behind Kingston Plaza. But then you go up this little hill and it's probably a 1/4 mile stretch, and it is like, it's just really, really sweet, and nobody, or very few people know about it.
Really get to it, and
It's hard to get to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to get to. You never know it's there. But then it is a hard stop at Washington Avenue, and which unfortunately we all know too well. And then, but now across that, you have the Hurley relatives, the
Right.
person who, the entity that owns that,
Yeah.
they should be like a big proponent of that, because it would improve their,
yeah, and the fact that the Midtown Linear Path ends sort of near CM are,
right.
and then you have to somehow then navigate the parking lot. People go crazy through
Yeah,
driving, and
right,
then
yeah.
to come out and Schwank and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like,
It's so much potential, but there's just a lot of disconnect.
right,
along
so
the
much
way.
potential, like, even if there was like a protected, or I don't know, perimeter of the back of, with.
Yeah.
That would be another like.
I mean, the best way to do it is to come out behind Herzog's, but during the day, it's so hostile back there.
Yeah, there's so many.
It was really tough back there. Well, there's a lot of pickup trucks. I mean, it's just a busy,
Right,
and it's all, contractors, so they're not really patient.
yeah,
But so the fence that runs along, that separates the train from Herzog's, like Herzog, that's not Herzog's problem.
really,
So just putting that out there. So that is, and we don't talk about that a lot, but, the city probably doesn't want to get into it, but that is a potential right of way kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Like, because you can't do anything with the tracks. The tracks are just awful.
right,
Unless we take out the tracks, you just can't.
right,
But if you can create a way to send people like not through Herzog's, driveway, but like just a little bit off to the side, that would be just direct people right down.
Yeah.
I don't think Dutch Village would have a problem with that pathway going out, being incorporated into some kind of bike path.
yeah,
I think they like the idea.
of course, like,
Yeah.
it's what people want.
Yeah, so those are just thoughts,
Yeah.
but that's really that's what I wanted to say about that. And I'll send you guys some of the talking points. And I really encourage people to reach out to, with written comment and really just ask them, just put it in here. And then this way, when we're making our case to DOT that you've got to add it, then. I mean, unless they've identified another funding source to do some stuff, which is possible, but it doesn't look like that's what's happened. And I really think that if we're getting $15.5 million.
I figured I can cover that, I can pick that up.
I think we can do it. I mean, the TAP grant application that the county did pull, put in so they were gonna put the light at the crossing. And then they were gonna put in just some sidewalks on the bridge, right? Which, by the way, my engineer friend looked at that and he went, you got 4 12-foot lanes there. It would be so easy to remove 2 of those lanes. And you would still have 2 12-foot lanes that would accommodate tractor trailers and buses,
Right, yeah, sure, right.
Yeah. So that's another word.
This is, yeah, to me, Washington Avenue is so much more egregious than 587. Five eighty-seven,
No, I-
fast on. Yeah.
Yeah, I should get going too, but I wanted to really make you guys aware of that.
Yeah, appreciate it. We've
yeah.
both your time.
Yeah.
Very informative.
But you guys have this.
Yeah.
So let's see that. So that like I was on with the seat in the back, that's yours? That's so funny, my husband and I see it all the time, I'm like, oh, that's so cool, it's so cute. Yeah, like finding out if it's yours.
It's a hard. My son's probably 40, 50 pounds and going up and down hills on the neighborhood bike. And I was like,
My bad.
yeah, but now that once you go e-bike, it's very hard to go back. It's just like so much fun to ride. You know?
Yeah, I've got like a full bike with an internal gear system for like and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so cool. There's so much different bike technology out there. It's it's so cool.
It's so awesome. If only just getting people to know that it's there. And I love it when I was like biking over here and like the traffic was built up of all these cars. Broadway, I'm just like cruising down and just like you think you're on a bike, you could be home by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they hate you for it.
They hate you for it. That's so funny. All right, Brandon, good, pleasure to meet you. I'll get you guys hooked up, to the, Kingston Design Matters.
Yeah, thanks.
I think it's a good thing, whatever. Yeah.
So you're just, have you never said the word?
Nuts. Yeah, he's in there, well, Partek's on there. He does, yeah. Roy, the mayor secretary, is on there for a while, but he left because.
Well, we get a little.
All right, guys, thank you.
All right, I'll see you.
All right,
All
bye.
right. So, we're put it in here because I saw the email about the Marilena sidewalks, which is an exciting development.
Oh, yeah,
Remember that?
around there.
Yeah,
Terribly.
right, and it was, got
Not that quick.
oh, yeah. We got an email from Sarah Pasty, is it Pasty or Pasty?
Actually, I believe.
Pasty?
Yeah.
But basically, they are gonna put sidewalks over here at school. They, I think, are now out to bid on the project. Is that right? Let's see.
Followed by a bidding process.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of the summer, before school resumes in the fall,
That's
plan to get sidewalks over there.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
That's-
I remember we had a mother come with her kid, just be like, this is ridiculous, and then.
Yeah, that's Lisa, she's the one who wrote the prevention article.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
She she's been following up with me ever since I wanted to hear.
that's great, yeah, no, it's one of those, it's an instance where somebody, the community got fed up enough, they got.
You guys did it, awesome, good for you. That's great.
Yeah, well, what we didn't necessarily.
Well, you are.
Yeah, sure. We gave them a platform with which to sort of stand on.
Alright. That's awesome, that's my I'll.
Yeah, so actually they've already voted on it, so, I guess if anyone knows, do you know how, it was at the Finance and Audit Committee on June 3rd, so.
I can text Michelle.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm sure, I think it's kind of a no brainer.
yeah, I would hope so.
I don't think anyone actively got up and spoke against it. I would hope not.
Yeah.
So, but I'll find out for you, I'll let you know.
All right,
Okay.
awesome, thanks.
All right, I'm gonna go before you say something else.
Honestly, that basically covers, most of the agenda, there are a couple of random odds and ends from last meeting that we didn't get to talk about. For instance, there are a couple of random incidents between crashes between cars and pedestrians. There's one in the plaza parking lot, apparently.
The one, when was that? Was that this?
Back in April, the end of April, actually.
Oh, yeah, that one, it actually, I think, from what I understand, it wound up not being super serious. I think someone on an e-bike actually crashed into a car backing out,
Right.
which is, I mean, kind of probably a testament to how dangerous that whole parking lot area is.
Yeah,
but-
that parking lot is really
No.
something else. And, you know, it's interesting talking about the idea of how this used to be a bus station or where, and how now the Herzog's parking lot operates as, you know, it's not the Trailways, but it's UCAT's bus station, and how there's so many people around there walking around and just,
It has so much potential, and that's the frustrating thing.
well, it's also just chaos because of the
Because it's-
combination of people
yeah.
driving like maniacs
So-
and just people, just lots of people. So it is, it's almost just a recipe for disaster. Yeah, and there are speed bumps, not many. But if you go that back route that we're talking, that could be the nice bike lane connector behind Herzog's.
The back area is actually, it's not terrible to go through, but the rest of the parking lot is.
Yeah, it's because of the speed bumps. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You're in, I think it's where you can't go that
Like,
fast.
even when I'm like, no, I'm not very fast biker, but even when I'm going down this sometimes, and people are pretty comfortably behind me because, you know, if they're trying to go more than like 10 miles an hour, they're sneaking.
Yeah.
Hitting them. And
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I wish we had something like that on a lot of the streets, like ours, like on Fair Street or like Pine Grove down here, because they have the loops where you can cross through the median in between a couple of the blocks, and people actually just drive down the Pine Grove and they just go in circles, like it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, no, like, we were out by the little, I was telling.
What are they doing?
I was telling Ellie about this the other day when I picked up the yard signs. Yeah, because they put in the benches, so we went to go, you know, check it out, because we think at the bench. And this guy comes down and he comes down really fast. And then he goes into the cemetery and we're like, oh, what's he doing? And then he just turns around immediately, he comes back and he just does the same thing like 2 or 3 more times. Then he goes down to Pine Grove, and it's not actually the first time we've seen that.
Pretty bizarre.
Yeah, it's pretty peculiar. You know, it's pretty funny, by the way, Ari's one of my doctors.
Oh.
I was so confused. I ran from outside, and then we said something to each other briefly. I think we both were just like, wait, and then like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, wait, that's good.
There you
I
go.
thought he was cool when I met him. I didn't
Yeah. No, I mean, I started hearing about this parklet, and then basically Ella was like, I was literally going to like email the same thing. They said we should invite him, and then she did, and I was like, I was gonna say that stuff. It was great that you guys come. Yeah, it seems like some good work is being done. Yeah, and I guess obviously no one heard anything else about this child who was hit, the 5 ways to die. I think it was a very sort of I don't think the car was probably going very fast. I think the kids was. Yeah, I think everyone's
just scared.
I know, but it's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll skip e-bike stores. I don't think there's anything to talk about that in this. But was there something about 17?
Yeah, so I got pitched by someone from Catskill Mountain Keeper on this project where they're collecting interest for they have like a letter of support. They're trying to get people to sign about a Route 17 project where they're trying to, you know, the state I think is trying to spend like $1.2 billion expanding.
Oh, yeah. I think it might even be the federal government, because I think they want to make it an interstate highway.
Incredible. Yeah.
Pretty sure.
And so I said that I would come. I'm not sure if that's too far afield, whether it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
to, like,
So what is it, a survey, or what do they want?
no, it's like a letter of support. You know,
Oh.
we, the undersigned,
Yeah.
think that this shouldn't happen the way it's planned to happen, and actually you should consider doing something better. What you're trying to do.
Yeah, I actually know that area pretty well. I'd be interested to just look at it, you know, I don't know if it is something, I mean, we signed a congestion pricing letter
Nice, cool.
when that first happened. So, you know, sometimes we go further afield.
Yeah, so the send the agenda.
Yeah, we can send it around and see if people support it, maybe do a vote.
Do we not have a meeting in July?
I think I might have just. Oops, when I was making this, we should.
Okay.
We haven't talked in the past about taking like the summer months off, but if people are around, there's no reason.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the summer months are kind of good too, because there's just so many people out. The rail trail
Oh, sure, yeah.
just exploding, I find like recently.
Yeah, I actually saw you, I was at the movie there
Oh, really?
showing, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. It's really cool. They do those little events over there.
Yeah.
I was talking about with Emily that one day, how we I was just like passing through there one time and they had like the donut truck right there. So I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
this place.
No, it's a really nice little mini park that's not really utilized for anything, so the space is good. What would you look up?
From
I guess, yeah.
Emily for July 9th.
July 9th, okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stand. That's the-
Yeah, of course. I will be here actually, if I go on vacation next time. All right, I think that basically covers everything. We got 5 minutes to spare, so I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wait, do you want to hear my fun, one more Dutch incident?
Oh, sure, on
So,
the record.
we can adjourn.
Okay, let's adjourn.
Let's adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
EJ, do you have anything you wanted to say? Sorry.
No, it's okay. My associate was out today, so I've had to kind of be on mute all meeting, but I've been listening in between calls. And I'm here. I never take vacation, so I'll be here in July.
All right, well, we'll talk to you then. Take care.
Interesting conversations.
Yeah.
I
it's good stuff
missed
today.
the introduction of that person who was speaking on the right.
Oh, yeah, that was Ari Goldstein.
He was visiting the meeting.
Yeah, he basically just of his own initiative had a little parklet built over near the GW school. So we're just talking about that.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear his conversation and his observations about the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an interesting guy for sure. Maybe he'd like to even join Complete Streets. I don't know if he has the time, but seems to be passionate. So
Great. Okay. Y'all have a good month.
you too. Thanks.
Okay.